Welcome to this video of mine. Today we will be talking about loadouts for Genshin Impact. This is a desktop application that allows travelers to manage their custom equipment of artifacts and weapons for playable characters and makes it convenient for travelers to calculate the associated statistics based on their equipment using the semantic understanding of how the gameplay works. Travelers can create their bespoke loadouts consisting of characters, artifacts, and weapons and share them with their other fellow travelers. Supported file formats include a human readable, yet another markup language, YAML serialization format, and a JSON based Genshin open object definition good serialization format. So I will go through the steps of how one can install it, use it at your own ends, and well, have fun with the loadouts for Genshin Impact. So one of the first things that you will do is of course download this thing, which you can do so from the GitHub page, that is github.com/gridhead/gi-loadouts, and hover over to the releases page, from where you should be able to see all the executables. And of course, if you are keeping up with the most recent release, you're supposed to download the most recent release from over here. You will get to see the stuff that has been added recently. The developers of the project are trying super hard to make sure that they stay up to date with all the releases and all the content that come with the releases, such as artifacts, weapons, and characters. So be sure to support them in the ways you see fit. And if you scroll over here, there you go. That's the executable that you can download for Windows. And if you by chance are running a Linux-based operating systems, you can use this executable over here. I would skip the downloading part because I have already downloaded it. Apart from this executable, you also need to download the Tesseract library, which is used for the optical character recognition, and that way you should be able to read stuff from the screen without having to fill all the details by your own hands, which admittedly can be a lot tiring. So in order to download Tesseract OCR, head over to the UB Mannheim's GitHub namespace, and I'll do that. I seem to have opened it over here as well, but let's go to the one that we opened just now. That's the setup executable. So click here to download. Both of these projects are free and open source, so you can be sure that these things are safe to use. Alright, I have the executable for Genshin Impact loadouts and Tesseract OCR, so I'm gonna go ahead and install this on my system. English for me, and I'll also install it for every single person that uses this computer. You of course don't have to, and I'm gonna stick to English because that is what the trading data is based off on. And feel free to change this directory as you see fit, but for now I'm gonna select this one, which is a default, and it connects to the server to download the English language file. We'll wait for a moment, and that is it. This has been installed. Alright, now let's understand how you can take this for a spin. I do have Genshin Impact running on the background, but here's the thing. This application, it does not interact with the Genshin Impact game files or the process or anything like that. It follows the code of conduct laid down by MiHoYo and the rules and regulations that are to be followed by third-party services, so you can rest assured that it is going to be super safe to be used. And just because it's open source, the developers of the project are super open for folks to come out, check the code out, and let them know if there's anything that needs changing, and they will change it depending on what the requirements are. So we'll start the executable for loadouts for Genshin Impact, and we'll try to import the loadouts for Furina over here. So let's start with the default screen, which has Aether over here. Alright, so we'll go back to Genshin Impact. I have Furina selected already. So let's start with the basics. That is, Furina has Hydro Vision, so I'm going to select Hydro characters, then Furina as the character. As I'm a free-to-play player, I'm going to select Constellation 0 because that is what I have. And then just because my Furina is at level 90, I'm going to select level 90 over here. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom of this list. There it goes. In terms of the weapon, I have the Floof Sandra Ferryman at level 90 and refinement 5. So you know it for the fact that I did fish a lot of fishes just to be able to get here. Floof Sandra Ferryman. One of the great things about this application is, depending on which character you have selected, it is also able to automatically select the weapon type accordingly. Right, so let's get started with the artifacts. So you go to the artifact screen. We're going to start with the Flower of Life. I'm going to click on Enhance and get to this Details page, and that way I get to see this card on the right side of the screen. I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this screen, so of this window. There it goes, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it over here. So it's going to take some time to scan the screenshot, and it's maintained by volunteers. Sometimes the results might not be perfect, but it tries its best to make sure that it is. So apparently it just so happens that it has selected the wrong artifact set, although the ones for the stats are correct. Take for instance the HP percentage, the crit damage, the crit rate, attack percent, so on and so forth. You can feel free to make the changes over here, but for the sake of this video I'm gonna ignore that part. This thing is super easy. Use the drop downs and the text boxes to make those changes happen. I'm gonna click on import, that is over here, the checkbox, and that should be it. Let's go and import the other parts as well. That includes the Plume of Death. The same thing goes over here as well. I'm gonna take a screenshot, then click on this I button to scan. Paste the screenshot over here, and this seems to be imported perfectly fine. We're going to click on import, there it goes, and we're going to head back and do the same for the Sands of Eon. Enhance, details, take a screenshot of this window, go back to this window, click on the eye icon to scan, paste your screenshot over there, and then click on import. You can also configure your Tesseract directory from over here, or remove the screenshot in order to add another one using these buttons over here. At any point in time you feel like you have doubts on what a certain thing does, just feel free to hover and it's going to tell you exactly what it does. So I'm going to go ahead, import this, then it comes for the Goblet of Eonatham. I'm going to go to a details screen because that is what gives me the clearest screenshot, and you do realize that this is a bit of a manual work, sure, but it is super safe because, well, it is not interacting with the game's files or the game's process by any means, unless of course it is you who is copying these screenshots over from the video game and pasting it. So much so that someone who is playing on their phone can move the screenshots over to their desktop PC and maintain their loadouts. That is definitely possible. Finally, we have the circlets of logos. I'm going to go to the enhance and then take another screenshot of this off piece. There goes nothing. And we're going to go back to this page, paste it, and there it goes. It has been recognized. I'm going to click on import, and depending on if you want to play around with these artifacts by themselves or as a group of these artifacts, you can either save these artifacts separately or you can save them as a set. Here's how you can do that. So when I click on this floppy icon, it opens up this dialog box that will help me save this flower, and that is the finale of the deep. This is the identifier, and I can click on save. Feel free to rename it as you see fit, but if you don't want to, you can simply make use of the generated name that just makes use of the type of artifact it is and the placement that it has in the equipment. I'm going to go ahead and save this one as well, saving this and this and this too. Now, just because I saved them, I can load them on some other artifact, some other character without having to worry about what's gonna happen to my character's equipment, because you know just how much of a pain it can be to get back to the original set for the artifacts. Maybe I want to use these golden true pieces on the likes of Fischl. So I'm gonna switch over to say Electro, and then over here I'm gonna choose Fischl, and well, let's give her a refinement 5 Favonius Wabo of level 90 and see just how good that would be on her. I'll click on this checkbox to generate, and here it goes. That is how good it might be on Fischl. You'll get all the information from here, which is going to be super close to the calculation that the video game will provide you with. So for the sake of some verification, we're going to go back to Farina again, right? And we're going to give her the same sword that was the Floof Sandra Ferryman. And over here we're going to select refinement 5, level 90, and we're going to click on this generate, and then we're going to go back to the game. The one thing that might be a bit different, just because the set did not match up completely because of the poor recognition, was it says Golden Troop 2 piece and Golden Troop 1 more piece over here. Nighttime Whispers in the echoes, echoing wind, 1 more piece. So the 4-piece damage bonus might differ, so that's one thing to keep in mind for. So all I need to do for fixing it is of course by selecting Golden Troop over here. That should fix it, no problems. I'm going to click on this again and then head back to the attributes. Alright, so let's see what kind of details that we end up getting over here. Right, so let's see if we have the correct artifact selected. Yes, we do. And over here there's one more small oopsie that will happen, that you are totally open to changes. That is, over here the SP percentage has been replaced with attack percent. So we're going to change that 46.6, and to make sure that we are not repeating the other things, I'm going to add them back again. And what it just ensures you that you don't have to worry about keeping spreadsheets or anything like that, or a notepad document of your kind. So I'm gonna save this, and now I think we should be relatively good and proper. Let's take a look. Okay, is Farina on the field? So that means she has the height to resonance. Keep in mind that a tool does not keep in track things like the height to resonance, so you gotta make sure that you select someone else so that your character is not affected with things like that. Then select Furina again, or whoever the character might be, and then you see that it's pretty close. The max HP is 39,024 according to the game, and according to the application is 39,030. The attack is pretty close, so is the defense, and well, the max stamina will remain the same regardless of which character it is, so we're gonna leave that aside. Let's head into the details. The crit damage and crit rate, of course, that is what it is all about, is the same. We also provide you with the critical value, then the healing, depending on what the current healing bonus and incoming healing bonus are, then the energy recharge, and other things such as the elemental stats, Pyro, Hydro, Dendro, Electro, Animo, Cryo, Geo, and physical damage bonuses as well as resistances. So these things are also accounted for by this application. And of course you can save this entire set. I'm gonna call it Furina, and there it is saved. I can also save the weapon, and the most important part of this is the reusability of all these things. So depending on the artifacts that I'm saving from the characters, I can put them, say, on Lumine. There she is. And I can, let's just say, load up a weapon, and over here I'll load up the Flusandra Ferryman. Double click, and there it is. Aether, Lumine, they can all share the same set of artifacts without having to change the in-game loadouts for your artifacts as well as weapons. One of the important pointers is for you to decide if you want to pull for a character that you might not necessarily have, and if you need to farm for their weapons or for their artifacts, stuff like that. So take for instance, my account does not have a Kinich, right? So let's just take for instance that if it is Kinich that were to use this artifact set, even though, well, Golden Troop is a bad fit for Kinich, right? I could simply select Kinich from the Dendro section, Kinich, and probably select a free to play weapon again. I could select another weapon that's, let's just say, a premium one. So 1,000 Blazing Suns of Mabuika, Refinement 5, level 90, because why not? Right, there it is. So I can actually have an estimate about how it's gonna look like with the existing artifacts that I have, even on characters that I do not have, all by doing some combinations of copying and pasting without having to spend the money first on the pulls. Depending on the stats that I get, I can then take an informed decision on whether or not I would like to pull for a certain character or a certain weapon. Well, that is about it for this video. This again is a free and open source application that's maintained by a group of volunteers. There are other applications as well like these, which are like based on internet services. It would require you to have active internet connection like akasha.cv, and then there is Genshin Optimizer. But I do think that this application is a lot more focused than them, and it is something that runs purely offline without any ads, without any tracking, purely offline, and it doesn't even interact with the game's process or the game's file, being super duper safe. That is about it. Definitely give this project a try. I'm gonna go back to the GitHub's page. Here it is. It does have a disclaimer telling that it does not exploit the game, does not help with the artificial progression of the account, does not help with selling or exchanging accounts, does not help with topping up of official, unofficial channels, anything of that kind. It just interacts with the things that you provide it with. So feel free to give it a try at your ends and enhance your experience with Loadouts for Genshin Impact. If you like the project, definitely consider donating to them. But this project is always going to remain free. So even if you can't donate, it's totally fine. The makers of these projects would appreciate you simply using it. That's a reward to them as being community members. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up for this one. Do share it with your friends and have a good day ahead.